Alrighty, gals and guys, today to get started for this video, I'm going to be using some Nightmare Before Christmas fabric that I purchased on Etsy and some other fabrics that I purchased at Walmart. So I started with a design, I always like to sketch it out, even if it's a simple design, just to kind of have a guide to work with so I don't forget elements, because sometimes I do that when I'm working on a project. I might forget the simplest little thing and think, oh, why didn't I add that? So this is what I plan on doing. It's going to be a two-tone bag with handles and a strap. The strap will be removable. Alright, you can use any bag pattern piece that you have that has gussets like this. The size is all up to you. Now what I'm doing is making markings so that I can make those two tones, and I'm measuring about 3 inches down, and then I'm going to make a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and you're going to cut those so that the pieces overlap for the seam allowance. So I would cut the bottom piece at the top of the line and the top piece at the bottom of the line so that they has an overlap and that seam allowance will be present. And when you get ready to cut your pieces, you want to make sure that you fold over at the right place. So for the bottom part of the bag, I'm folding to the top line, and just be careful not to cut into your pattern folds, or else you'll ruin your pattern piece. And I'm going to be cutting 2 pieces for the outside of the bag. Alright, for your top band, you're going to want to fold over to the bottom line, and then just kind of want to accordion fold it until those other pieces of the pattern disappear. You're just going to cut 2 of the top band. And then for the inside of the bag, you can just iron your pattern piece back out to get it back nice and flat and crisp, and I'm going to cut those all in one piece. We're not going to do an inner band for this part of the bag. Alright, and next I'm going to cut some pieces of fusible interfacing. I always use Pellon number 809 Decor Bond. I had originally intended to use some buckram as well to just stiffen up the bag a little bit more, but I decided not to do that. So you saw those pieces in there, but they won't be used. I'm just going to use interfacing on every piece of the bag for the inside and the outside. So the lining and the outside of the bag will get interfacing, and I've already pressed those on in this clip, as you can see. So here you're going to see I've got 2 swivel hooks, and you're going to need 6 D-rings, and these are 1-inch D-rings that I'm using. I just forgot to include those other 2 in there. So for the strap, you're going to use 1 piece, and I just cut it along that folded edge of the fabric. I cut it about 3.5 inches wide, and it's about 40 inches long, 40 to 42 inches long. And these pieces for the handles are approximately 20 inches long, and you're going to need interfacing for those as well. I'm not using interfacing on the strap, just on the handles. Alright, I've got the 2 lining pieces, and I'm just going to fold over about 1/2 inch at the top and press it, because I'm going to do a drop-in lining. And I'm not going to show the complete construction of the inside of the bag here, because I have so many videos already on that. I did a zipper pocket and did the gussets. For the handles, I'm doing a double fold, and I'm just I have a D-ring handy, and as I go along, I'm just going to make sure that that's going to fit smoothly through that D-ring. We don't want it to be too wide or too small. So it's just kind of like making bias tape. You're just going to press along the edges, and then you're going to fold those edges together, and I'm going to sew along those two sides to make it look nice and neat once I've got all. Alright, so now I'm going to take my D-ring once I've got the side sewn on this handle, and I'm going to fold it over, and I'm just going to make lines. I'm not doing that little squared piece there. I just do 3 lines just to hold that D-ring there nice and tight and hold that loop we've made. And I found that it's best to use your zipper foot to do this part. It just makes it easier to get around that lump where the D-ring is. You can see I'm going to do that with both handles on both ends of each handle. Okay, so I created 4 pieces to make the loops to hold the handles on the bags, but you actually don't need that many, and you really don't need them that size. Well, I mean, you need that many, but you need them about half that length. I did about 6 or 7 inches. You only need about 3 to 3.5 inches for this part. So I just cut mine down after I sewed them. I did that fold over just like if I did with the handles, like it was bias tape, and I sewed down each side to make it look neat and well put together. And okay, so the next step is to put these loops on the other side of the D-ring on each end of each strap, and I'm going to do that and stay stitch them on there, just a quick stitch over to keep them in place so that I can put them on the bag. Alright, so there you have both handles. Now we just need to attach them to the bag. And I'm going to fold the bag over and find the middle, and I'm going to mark that spot. Just actually mark it on the outside so I can see it. And then I'm going to measure 3.5 inches on each side of that line that I just created. And I will be placing each handle on the inside of each of those lines that I created, not the outside, because then it would be too far over. So I've got my markings, and what I'm going to do is put the handle right there on the inside of that line closest to the middle line. I'm just going to pin those in place, and then we'll stitch them on there so that they're in place when we get ready to construct the rest of the bag. Okay, so now we're just going to add the top part of our outside of our bag, and I'm just going to pin that on really quickly, and I'm just going to sew right down the top part of that line where the pins are. And now I'm going to sew a top stitch. You can see where I did a top stitch there. It's kind of hard to see because I used black thread, but I just sewed along the top edge or the bottom edge of that polka dot part to make sure that it kind of stays in place, and it just gives it a more put together look. So now I'm going to do that 1/2 inch fold over like I did with the lining of the bag, and then I'm going to construct the outside of the bag. I'm just making sure my handles are out of the way, and I'm going to sew along the sides, and then I'm going to sew the bottom part, and then I'm going to put those gussets together. And that's a really simple step. I also have a video on that if you want to go watch that. It's a really quick tutorial on how to do gussets. But basically what I'm doing is opening up that little square hole there, and I'm going to make the bottom seam and the side seam meet, and you want to lay those open when you do that. Sorry, I kind of got out of frame here. I got so busy with my work I didn't realize you couldn't see what I was doing. And I just pin along those open seams where we kind of press those seams open with our finger. And I like to make a mark close to the edge because sometimes your cut isn't always perfect. And I just make that little mark with my pencil and sew on the other side, the top side of that mark, so that I make sure that there's no holes in my bag or anything. I'm going to do that with both sides. Alright, to make the loops I used some of the polka dot fabric, and I just folded it over like I did with the straps and the handles, and then I sewed along each edge, and I'm going to attach the D-ring to it. And what I'm doing is taking that raw edge and covering it with the other end, kind of pulling one end longer than the other, and I'm going to sew a square around this, and you won't see that other raw edge. And you want it to be down at the line where the two fabrics meet, because you don't want to sew through it when you're constructing your bag. So I'm just making a square along that piece that I folded, and that is face down. The piece you saw me fold over the other piece is down so that it won't show. Now I'm making the strap, and same deal again. We're going to fold over both sides and then fold it in the middle to make those meet. And then we are going to attach the swivel hooks. And the swivel hooks are kind of the same concept as the D-rings. We're just going to feed it through there and then sew 3 lines across. I don't know, 3 seems to be the magic number for me. I just like to do that to make sure that they stay together. And there you have your strap. And there's no interfacing or anything in the strap. I like for it to be kind of loose and easy. So I've got my zipper piece prepared. I will do a separate video to show how I did that. If you need that, I will have that information up as soon as the video is ready. But it's really simple. I did a fold over so that I could just sew that zipper piece right on the outside of the fabric. Don't have to do any turning. I wanted this bag to be kind of simple, but you know, still look really well put together. So I'm just pinning everything, and then I'm going to pin that zipper casing to the inside lining of the bag, and we're going to sew everything together. Alright, so there you can see I've got everything pinned together, and the ends of the zipper are kind of open. If you want to close that, there is a way to do that, and I do have a tutorial on that. But you'll be able to pull that zipper out like that. But you want to sew all the way around, and that's what you have when you're done. The completed bag. Nice little zipper. Everything matches. Everything's pretty well put together. I hope y'all enjoyed this little tutorial. Peace, y'all. Bye-bye.